Hi everyone. I want to share with you a really cool method I learned in college for writing essays, and it's called the cookie method. And there are other names for it. The sandwich method is another. But basically it looks like this. And I got this from our MLA documentation handout. And all the way down here is the cookie method. So the top part of the cookie introduces a quote. So you signal to the reader, hey, there's a quote coming up and this is what it's about. And then you give a quote, which we already have in the outline. And then the bottom part of the cookie explains the quote's significance to the main idea. The way you can introduce quotes are all these different verbs right here that I've given you so that you don't have to keep saying such and such author states, says, states, says. You can say refutes, reveals, argues, comments. Make a switch it up every now and then when you're making this draft. And to explain the quotes, I give you lots of examples. Okay, how this quote advances your argument. Ask yourself the who, what, where, when, why, and how. And it helps you think about how you explain this quote. And then you also can do other techniques like giving stories or examples, cause and effect, compare and contrast. And so take your time reading these, but I want to share with you how this works in tandem with the outline. So here's your outline, right? And then when you're done, it should look more like this. So you have an attention getter, which you'll eventually write. You'll have your main idea layer and your thesis layer. So you have the layers of your introduction, and you'll have the layers of your conclusion, okay? But the main thing here with the cookie method is how you handle the main idea paragraphs. Now, obviously, if you only have one tiny, measly little quote there, you don't have much information to write a full paragraph, and you should go back and get more information before you write that paragraph. You also want to make sure that you have a variety of information from different sources in each paragraph. If everything is coming from the website, that's too much information from one source. So a nice variety of data. If you've got everything from the website, you should swap out a quote and put in one from the database, the Orlando Sentinel database. And so what you're going to do now is delete the main idea and summary statement words. You no longer need this to be in bold, so I'm going to remove the bold. And now you're going to introduce the quote. And there's a couple other ways you can do this besides using these really interesting verbs. You can also give an emotional appeal. So if there's something that's shocking or sad or, think about an emotion that you can use to describe or the quote. You want to preface the quote. So you can use an emotional appeal. You can even use an ethical appeal. So maybe this has to do with something that's right or wrong. So maybe it has to do with ethics. And the quote has to do with ethics. Maybe they cut funding to a particular program, and you don't think that's very ethical. You think that that was, something that the government did that maybe they shouldn't have done. Whatever your stance is, however you want to do it, you want to introduce the quote. And then once you have the quote, then you want to analyze the quote. You're not repeating what the quote already says. So here it says, we do not receive funding from national, state, or county governments in Pet Alliance. So you don't want to repeat it and say, hey, they don't get money from the government. The quote already says that. So now you have to think about, and using the who, what, where, when, why, you have to think about, well, why is that so significant? And what does that mean for Pet Alliance? And the answers you come up with is your analysis. Well, obviously then, private donors become super important to them getting money, right? That's why they need fundraisers all the time, because they're not getting money from taxes. So this would be a cause and effect. the cause is they don't get money from the government. The result of that is they get their money elsewhere. And you have to explain that, why private donors are so important. And you can say a lot here, you know. Notice here that a quote is about an actual fundraiser. So even the way that you order the quotes should make some logical sense, even within the body of the paragraph. So once you explain why it's important to know this information and what it means, then you can introduce the next quote. And now you've got your quote, it's already documented, and then you have to explain it. And in this case, you can maybe use description, describe what the fundraiser might have looked like. So, you know, maybe it was a charity ball. Maybe people were really dressed up fancy. Maybe they were listening to some really fun music. It's a Prince tribute. Try to recreate a narrative or a story that kind of brings readers into what this fundraiser might have been looking like and how fun it might have been and why we should join. Why should the public be part of this? So, you know, Pet Alliance is kind of giving back to everyone by having these fun fundraisers. And so you might want to say something. So you can use a variety of ways to analyze quotes. One way could be giving cause and effect. Another way could be describing it with the 5 senses and giving a little story. So depending on the quote will really matter on how you analyze it. And so once you're done, you've got your introductions of quotes. So then you're going to smush it all together. So you have your topic sentence, you've got your introduction to your quote, you've figured out how you want to introduce it, and you're just going to mush it all together. Now you've got your analysis, then you introduce your next quote. You already have it. It's already documented. You explain the next quote, and you can see how the paragraph starts building itself around the quotes that you found. And you already have your summary statement, so you don't have to worry about, you know, finding a way to wrap up the paragraph. It's already done for you. And you want to indent it. If you don't already have this done, you want to double space it, okay? And you want to get rid of any bold words that are showing up, okay? Any of that. Okay, so I hope that this really helped you figure out the cookie method and how using the quotes really can help you build the paragraph. So you're building your paragraph around the quotes, and you're using the cookies. So you're stacking these cookies on top of each other. Introduce a quote, give a quote, explain a quote. Introduce a quote, give a quote, explain a quote. And don't forget to use your MLA documentation handout for some ideas. Okay, so I hope that really helped you. Thanks for watching.